And how do you see the current state of crypto market with this bear market? Like, do you see less builders, or it's the same people still trying to build more projects in the industry?
Yeah, I see different things. I mean, for the current builders, I see a lot of them leaving as well. But the core builders are still here. So I think it's good to kind of see who's in for the long term as well. The second is there's actually a lot of new talents flowing in, a lot of new builders. So looking from the number of projects applying to our incubation program, looking from a lot of the talents flowing in from big Web2 tech firms coming into Web3, I think that's a really good sign, right? So I'm not super worried on the innovations side of things of the space. And I think there's going to be a lot more innovative and cool products coming out of next wave. What I think is super interesting is how regulations and legislation is going to turn out, because with this bear market and this fallout of a lot of institutions, I think it really trigger regulatory body to take some actions, right? Either understand more, either make some rules or something. But I feel like with this, with everything that happened, a regulatory body definitely cannot, ignore. So I think depending on how different countries regulate, that will also determine where the talent flow is going to be, which I think that's going to be interesting to see how projects will move or may move from country to country due to this regulatory body change.
Yeah, hopefully we'll see more better projects, and this market will make them stronger.
Yeah.
And as well, partly we saw the market crash because of Terra Luna crash, and you had the partnerships with Terraform Labs. So how did it work out for you?
Yeah, so that partnership was on the incubation side. We were going to do incubation specific for Terra track. So in the end, we did not go with it, but luckily we have chain agnostic track as well. So we double down on that chain agnostic track, and I think once the fallout happened, we also re-strategized things a bit to be less chain specific on the partnership side, but still partnering on the level that it benefits the incubated projects, but not too much that will rely us and rely our success on that.
Yeah, you were lucky enough. And as well, you have such a big community, over 100,000 people. How did you build it? What's your advice to grow community?
Yeah, I think number one is to have like a really good product that bring value to community. I think a lot of the projects try to bring short-term incentives as a way to grow community, but in the end you realize that that's more of like a short-term community too, right? So in order to have a strong and engaging community, you have to really bring value to them, whether it's through product, whether it's through useful tweets, etc., right? So once you have that high quality community members, long-term driven in your community already, then you also want to keep them engaged and keep them invested in your project, because there's so many interesting projects, right? So in order for you to do that is really much like create space so you can interact with the community members as much as you can. For example, we have community calls. We also have what we call Whale Whisperer, which is a session that we just talk about what's going on in crypto. People join to like listen, to discuss. So really not about alpha itself, but about like building that community of people that we have. Yeah.
Nice. And as well, can you share your view on the different jurisdictions and regulations in different jurisdictions? You're currently based in Thailand. Now we are here in Korea, and you studied in the US. So like, what differences do you see?
Yeah, I think it's very diverted because different country, I think now we're at the age of this is something new. So there's no example of how do you do, or how do you approach this before. Although the US may be a lot more progressive in setting examples, but still each country will have to apply that to their own framework. So I think it's quite diverted. Thailand is somewhat progressive compared to other countries in Asia, I would say. They understand, they have regulations that protect consumers to a certain extent, but also not too regulated such that projects don't feel safe in the country. And at the same time, US has been very progressive as well, understanding different things more than other countries. But I think what people are a bit more wary of is how far will regulations go, at least in the US, right? That actually make the projects feel not safe being in the US, because I think the talent pool is really big in the US, so there's a natural progression of wanting to start projects in the US. And it would be sad to see those projects having to leave or having to relocate just because of the tightening of regulations. And yeah, depending on how regulations play out, I think it will also impact the talent pool flowing in different countries. As we can see now, a lot of talent flowing into Portugal because of the lax regulations and everything, right? So yeah, that's my view.
Nice. And can you share as well upcoming plans for the development of Alpha Venture DAO?
Yeah, so we have a new product launching next week in the NFT infrastructure, which I mentioned. The incubation side, we're having demo day end of August. And then on the high level side of things, we're building more towards becoming investment DAO. So what that means is we're thinking about revamping the tokenomics that aligns incentive better and build a stronger community, so we can invest in high quality projects more sustainably as well. So working more towards investment DAO, launching the investing part, because now we have the build part, we have the incubate part, we haven't launched the invest part yet, so that's the next chapter for us. And then also experimenting with different concepts of DAO and governance of DAO. We don't want to experiment too early, so we want to make sure the foundations are set in place first, which now the foundation have been set in place. So eventually we're going to be experimenting on the DAO side.
Great. So wish you good luck with your developments, and we'll wait for your new products.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for the interview.